Labyrinths have been around for thousands of years. Indeed, there are some that may date as far back as 2000 BC. I was aware of their existence, and in particular of the wonderful medieval labyrinth in Chartres Cathedral. Like many others, I confused labyrinths with mazes. Mazes are places where you get lost. They are places of false turns and dead ends. They are places of enjoyment and confusion, places from which you emerge with a lot of luck. Labyrinths are places where you find yourself. There are no false turns or dead ends. There is one path that leads you to the center, and you follow the same path to come out again. They are places of peace and tranquility, places from which you emerge having integrated body, mind, and soul. I've done some prayer walks in Portobello this year, and indeed had plans to share those with members of the congregation. As it turned out, my plans for sharing them were thwarted by the crisis in which we now find ourselves. As I walked around Portobello in preparation for these prayer walks, I noticed the people I passed, the houses in which the people lived, the parks in which they played, and the places in which they worked. Walking a labyrinth is a form of prayer walk, but one where you notice things inside yourself. The labyrinth is by its very nature a conduit for this. You don't have to think about where you are going, as I did in my prayer walks around Portobello. The path in the labyrinth takes you to the center and out again, and requires no thought whatsoever. This allows you, as you walk around the labyrinth, to notice things about yourself, to notice internal thoughts, to notice what is most on your mind, what is most on your heart. Walking in is a time to shed those thoughts. Pausing at the center is a time to collect yourself. Walking out is a time to think of how best to move on. I was introduced to labyrinths properly by the person who made the labyrinth in George Square Gardens in Edinburgh, in the centre of the university area. I was working at the Cathedral of the Isles, and she persuaded me to create a labyrinth in the grounds. We had 8 acres, and the big question was where best to create it. In the end, we chose a lawn, with the north wall of the cathedral on one side, the neo-Gothic graveyard with magnificent yew trees on another, a steep bank of grass on another, and some elegant palm elm trees on the fourth. I cut a classical labyrinth into the lawn with a small lawnmower, a path that was shorter grass than the rest of the lawn, so that one could walk the labyrinth without any objects in the way, an entirely natural labyrinth. As I got to know it, I realized the great power of the labyrinth, the power to aid meditation and prayer, the power to allow one to integrate mind, body, and soul, the power to help one find the direction of travel in one's life, the power to help one know God. We are on a very uncertain journey at the moment in this global crisis. Every day there are changes to our way of life. Every day there is more news of sickness and death. Walking a labyrinth is a certain journey, one that leads to the center and back again. As we walk the labyrinth, we can pray the prayer from the Carmina Gadelica, the old Gallic book of prayers and blessings. God, bless the pathway on which I go. God, bless the earth that is beneath my soul. Bless, O God, and give to me thy love.